Hello and welcome to all our viewers on CFO Insights. I am Sherry, a financial technology consultant at Hyperbots, and I am very excited to have Jon Naseath here with me, who is an accomplished executive with expertise in AI, machine learning, and computer vision, driving impactful technology solutions in education, healthcare, and business. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jon. We'll be discussing about a niche topic, which is Alaska's state sales and use tax rates. And to get us started with the interview, could you provide an overview of Alaska's state sales and use tax rates and how do these rates differ across goods and services?
First, just want to start out by saying that, a lot of states have different complexities. Over the past 2 weeks, we've spoken about a few different states. And we started with California, which is where I was born and raised up and have worked through most of my career. A lot of complexities there. We then spoke about Arizona, where my wife's family is all from, and my family was all from California, mostly. And now we're talking about Alaska. And my son has been living in Alaska for the last 2 years, and it's a beautiful state. But ironically, each of these states have their own unique complexities for sales tax. So with Alaska, what's unique is everyone thinks about Alaska as not having income tax and not having sales tax because they have so much oil revenue and different things is the primary reason. But separate from the state, the local jurisdictions are permitted to impose their own local sales tax, and they often do. For example, Juneau has a 5% sales tax, which applies broadly across most of the goods and services. And Wasilla, as an example, imposes a 2.5% tax. So the local taxes create a patchwork of systems across the state that require businesses to know the exact rate based on the local jurisdiction, and the services are usually taxed at a local level, creating additional variability.
Could you discuss some of the jurisdictions in Alaska with notably high or low sales tax rates, and how does this affect businesses?
Well, it's important to note that Alaska is just huge. And, as far as the geography, it covers more than most states, obviously. Some examples are Wrangell and Cordova, where their combined local rates reach up to like 7%. So it's quite high. Or actually, compared to California, that's quite average, but it's high for Alaska. And then other remote areas or unincorporated regions, they don't have sales tax at all. So just really depending on where you are, how you do your business. And then these variances require business operations across the locations to adjust their rates frequently. And companies serving in the high tax areas may consider pricing strategies to support business and avoid the extra costs. If possible, it could impact some of their business decisions.
How often do Alaska's local sales tax rates change, and how do businesses keep up with these updates?
Most changes are going to happen on an annual basis with the new budgets as far as new things that come into impact. They're oftentimes announced at the beginning of the year, but really the local jurisdictions have the freedom to adjust the sales tax as they see fit. In some cities, seasonal adjustments are made. For example, increasing rates during or having rates specific for the tourist seasons could come into play in different parts of Alaska. Businesses typically monitor rates changes through local government announcements, or they may rely on automated systems to pull the rate data from tax databases. There really isn't a centralized state system because there isn't a state tax. So it becomes pretty challenging to stay up to date for the local city taxes that are required, especially for a small business. It can become quite burdensome.
What are some of the primary resources available to businesses to stay informed about sales and use tax changes in Alaska?
Yeah, again, since there's no kind of state tax, it really is how do you pull together the different municipal city tax requirements. There's Alaska Municipal League. It's a resource that tracks the tax changes across the different areas. There's also local city websites, local jurisdiction websites that you'd have to go to, and then the third-party tax tools. So an example of Valera and different sales tax handbooks, really just trying to figure out how to get the information that you need for your local taxes.
What challenges do companies face when managing compliance with Alaska's unique sales and use tax rules? And could you share some examples of the same?
Well, one of the main ones is just the local jurisdictional complexity. Each locality has its own rate. Businesses have to apply the rate based on wherever their customer's location is. So just getting that lined up right is complex. A company that's selling in both Juneau at 5% and Wasilla at 2.5% have to adjust their invoices accordingly. Also, the seasonal variability. Some towns adjust based on whether you're in the peak season and have a lot of tourists coming through, and also figuring out what tax items need to be taxed. So not all goods and services are consistently taxed across the locations. It just gets pretty complex when you consider timing and location and product and all the different things that go into the individual taxable items.
How can artificial intelligence help businesses manage sales and use tax compliance more efficiently, especially in Alaska's decentralized tax environment?
There aren't many tools that are doing it, but figuring out an AI tool that can help automated rate updates and get the local information that's required, figuring out where the sales are happening. So having a location-based tax calculation. The AI tools can help do geolocation to figure out where the sales occurred, and then monitoring the changes. So as things happen with the timing of seasonality, as we mentioned, AI can help with that. I'm personally not aware of any other tools besides Hyperbots that can help you handle all these things and just managing all the changes in Alaska tax. I've been in businesses where we just didn't do business in Alaska because of this. As we were growing, it wasn't worth the complexity, or we just decided, well, we'll wait till Alaska comes knocking on our door. They're not complaining to us. We don't have to worry about it. Later, they did come knocking, so we had to figure it all out. Now, actually, to be clear, let me clarify that. That's what the prior management had decided. And then when I came in, we cleaned it all up, and it was quite painful to figure out. So,
And how can AI support companies during audits for sales and use tax compliance in Alaska?
yeah, well, the favorite thing about audits, and especially with tax audits, is they love asking information. You have to go dig into your stuff. Like if you're doing a statutory audit or a financial audit, financial statement audit, then you kind of know what they're going to ask for. With tax audits, it's really whatever that auditor wants to dig into. So AI can be very helpful with that. It can access your information, find the right files, find the right data that you needed to know. Document retrieval, error detection. It can look through files that you had, compare them to tax things. I've been in a situation where the state auditor came knocking for a tax audit, and we were able to show our information, show how we had prepared it all, and really just demonstrate to them that it wasn't worth their time to come do a full audit. I think that the AI tools can be quite helpful for that too. Just being able to say, hey, look, we have this AI tool that manages all this for us. Here's our summary of our risk and compliance regarding Alaska. We've got you covered. They have to decide where they're going to spend their own resources. So if you can help show them that this isn't where they're going to find more tax revenue, I've been able to get them to go away based on a strong response.
And what do you see as the future role of AI in handling Alaska's sales and use tax compliance?
Yeah, sales and use tax is really one of those processes where if you have it under control, it's really a non-issue. And if it's not in control and you don't manage all these different complexities, it can be very painful. And it provides so little value for your company. And yet, if you don't have it under control, it can really take a lot of time, require a ton of resources. So I think that specifically an AI tool can help manage those resources and help make sure you're in compliance. It can do predictive analysis, making sure you're on top of things and managing the risks so you don't get into a bind, avoid the audits. It can provide real-time dashboards just to monitor and make sure that you are in compliant in the different jurisdictions. And it can also provide proactive compliance alerts. If something changed locally, helping you know what you might need to modify and update in your system configurations.
It's always a pleasure learning from you, John. Thank you so much for indulging us in these conversations and being as insightful as you always are.
My pleasure. I do need to call out again in this one. I'm not a tax specialist. Talk to your own tax auditors, tax specialists, and it's a pleasure. It's exciting to see a company like Hyperbots, figuring out some of these more unique areas that most people are just left manually trying to figure out, and seeing what AI can do to help tackle them.
Thank you so much, John.